Hey everybody, weekend confirmed question of the week. Starting off though, I gotta pour one out for all my friends back at 1UP where, I came from, and GameSpy, all taken out as part of the Ziff Davis restructuring after they bought IGN. Of course, this is not the Ziff Davis that I work for. It's a different Ziff Davis, name only, but suffice it to say, pouring one out for all of those folks, the UGO people in New York. And then also, more bad news, the EA Montreal folks and people here in LA who also were laid off. So it's been a little bit of a tough week here in the video game world, following all the great news of the PlayStation 4, which is where today's question of the weeks come from. You can get your questions to us on Twitter or on Facebook or at Weekend Confirmed. See, the two questions are, I gotta do, first of all, CTG9580, who did the basic, like, how you like me now? Said, what are your thoughts about the PS4 now? Which I'm going to tie into a little deeper question from at Mikerman, M-K-E-R-N-A-N. Says, how will the PS4's x86 architecture affect multi-platform game development of next-gen titles? Alright, so here's what I wanted to get to. The question is, how did multi-platform next-gen game development affect the x86 architecture of the PlayStation 4. The problem with the PlayStation 3, as we've known for a long time, has been development on the cell being tricky and development on the cell requiring a lot of specific hardware calls in order to be optimized, so it was not easy to make multi-platform titles. And at the same time, platform exclusivity has declined. Both Sony and Microsoft, and especially Sony though, have fewer first-party titles working for them. There are fewer first-party games that they are creating. I mean, look, we did a special leading up to the launch that Andrew Yoon wrote a number of articles on, and while we highlighted some of the great success stories they've had in first-party, we also pointed out that there are first-party or studios that were first or second-party studios that have gone by the wayside during this generation. And, you can attribute that to a lot of things. Probably the biggest thing would be the cost of development in the modern HD era. That's not going to change any. And it's because of that cost of development that you need to reach the broadest spectrum of potential audience. And that's why the PlayStation 4 had to move to a more standard sort of architecture. That's why you see it now on basically, hey, look, no basically, take the basically out. Mark Cerny described it as a supercharged PC, and that is in fact what it is. And it's an architecture that most of the programming languages are already adapted to, that everybody knows how to work with, and they put a lot of power behind it, so they should be able theoretically to really take advantage of the hardware and run multi-platform titles very well on this piece of hardware. So that's the multi-platform piece. I think that the PlayStation 4 right now is positioned exceedingly well to be successful in a multi-platform environment. Now, that having been said, I think it also plays to a couple other things. For one, how attractive does Steambox look? If indeed all of these games are going to be multi-platform architected, then, and that architecture is built around a PC-based ideal, then the Steambox seems to be much better positioned, because Steambox is not a set box. Steambox is a idea and set of standards, and the PC world will always outstrip the console world. PC world will always outstrip the console world. Why? Because you can open the box up and put new components in it. I can come in next year and I can put a beefier graphics card in it. I can come back a year later, replace my motherboard and my CPU, and I can constantly get those upgrades over the course of 2, 3, 4 years. Now, if I am only talking about Steambox as the platform on which I play, much like PS4 being a platform on which I play and access the hardware, suddenly it's not hard to see where in 2 or 3 years the Steambox, by virtue of its flexibility, is able to outperform the PS4. So then you've got to get into that world of, well, what does the PS4 give me that a supercharged PC, which the PS4 was today, but 3 years from now a supercharged PC will be more badass than that. What does the PS4 give me that this doesn't have? And that's where you get into some of the cool stuff that they showed. And I think that they showed a number of things that are very forward-looking and that give me a lot of optimism for how Sony can grasp the idea of social in the next generation and working with the players and bringing people together. It's not just the share button, but I think the share button really illustrates how much they're starting to think about these things. Look, the idea of share is really cool. Share lets you basically, in a DVR-like way, rewind what you've been playing, sift through it, share that with your friends, and do video. That's what people like. That's awesome. But that's today. and we need to think about like what's going to happen in the future. So I hope that their social network system, and I don't mean social network as in social networking, but I mean all these things that they're building in as the web of social functionality is expandable and updatable. I think it's going to be really smart if they harness Facebook. I talked about that several weeks ago. I think that's really the key to them having a really easy to use personality. We're moving away from this idea of having a lot of different places to log into. You don't want to log into 3 or 4 places. You want to log into one place, have your friends, be able to access them. If Sony gets all those pieces right and is able to use the Gaikai technology that they bought for me to be able to use a portable device and play remotely, and keep in mind the Vita is not playing, the game's playing on your PS4 and you're projecting the video through that service into your Vita. There's a lot of cool potential there. I just think they've got a lot of things to work out, but you can definitely see, to wrap this all up, that the PS4 really illustrates how much multi-platform gaming and multi-platform development has changed the landscape for Sony, and they can't just build a badass piece of silicon that's theirs. They had to build a badass piece of hardware that everybody can access and that plays friendly with everybody else's world. Hopefully we play friendly with everybody else's world too, so keep up with us on Shack News in the official Weekend Confirmed thread. Watch the Shack News Daily Show with our hosts, Ryan Calvano, who's on the other side of the camera right now, and Nicole Zabalich, who you also get to hear about every month on Weekend Confirmed. Check us out on iTunes. Please do subscribe. Thanks.
I think that as much as the big game publishers provide game sales, they actually help keep the sale of new games going at the current clip that it's going. So, for example,